Welcome to Lesson 7 in Unit 6, Seeds, Sprouts, and Sunshine. In this lesson, students will work to answer the question, how can we design a solution to a human problem by mimicking a plant part? In previous lessons, students have explored plant structure and function of flowering plants as well as human uses for these plants. In this lesson, students will design a model for a solution to a human problem. Students figure out that biomimicry means that we can use nature to get ideas for inventions that can solve our problems. Engineers use a specific set of steps to design and test their ideas. We can make inventions that act like plant parts. This lesson will take approximately 3 days. In the engage portion of this lesson, students will consider the parts of a plant and how that information might help us develop new inventions. Put the students in groups of 4 and pass out the Velcro samples. Give the students time to look. Ask students what questions they might have about this Velcro. Ask students what they notice or wonder about the structure of this Velcro. Allow students to turn and talk to discuss, then share a few answers to the whole class. Show students the following video, which explains where the idea of Velcro came from and how the inventor was inspired by nature. In the Explore portion of this lesson, tell the students, now that we know what biomimicry is and we have seen an example of it with Velcro, you are going to have a chance to make your own design inspired by nature. Ask students to turn and talk to describe the function of roots. Students should recall that one function of roots is to help anchor the plant to prevent something like wind from uprooting it. Next, ask students if they have ever camped out in a tent. Ask students how we keep tents from getting blown over in the wind. At this point, they may not know that tent stakes are used like plant roots to anchor the rest of the tent above ground. Show them these images of a tent and a tent stake. Remind students that biomimicry involves making designs or making products better by getting inspiration from nature. Tell students that we can get inspired by roots, which help anchor a plant, in order to make a better tent stake that can withstand the pull of wind. Show the Newton scale provided in the mySci kit. Explain that this is the tool scientists use to test the force it takes to pull on something. Demonstrate by holding the scale by the loop and pulling on the hook. Explain that they will use this scale to test their tent stakes. Show them how the scale moves down whenever more force is applied. Put the class into groups of 4. Pass out the Biomimicry Design Challenge student rubric found on student page 20 and review this with your students. Let the students know that they should individually fill it out as they do each step with their group. After each step is completed, you may want to pause students and ask them to review that step on their checklist. Then you should pass out the Engineering Design Cycle, student page 17, and review the steps the groups will do to complete this challenge. Tell the students, we have already identified our problem. We want to make a tent stake that can withstand a strong pull. Now we need to research and brainstorm. Use pictures of roots from the books in the kit or from the original video from Lesson 1 of the bean plant. Ask the students to think about the patterns they notice about roots. Ask students what about the roots might help the plant be anchored. Use think, pair, share activities or turn and talks to help facilitate this discussion for all students. Students might come up with the idea that the roots have bends in them, or branching, or are more thick in certain areas. Tell the students that based on these ideas, they should now get with their groups and make a decision about how they will design their tent stake. Tell the students that each group will get 5 pipe cleaners, and they will be able to put the pipe cleaners in whatever pattern they chose in order to represent their tent stake. Give students a copy of the design drawing sheet found on student page 18. After students make a drawing of their prototype, they should show you their idea, then work together to construct the prototype out of pipe cleaners. Give time for students to now construct their tent stake. So already, now you can give students a copy of the Design Challenge data sheets found on student page 19. Before each group starts testing, take one of the straight pipe cleaners and demonstrate to students how much force is required to pull it out of the sand. At this grade level, you may want to demonstrate to students that we can use qualitative words like a lot, some, or a little. Have students record this amount on their data sheets. Explain to students that their design should require more force than that if it can withstand a strong pull. Have each group come up to the front of the classroom and test their prototype in the sandbox. Refer to the tutorial for further guidance. The student should place the stake into the sand. You may want to pour the sand around the stake, or the student may be able to push the stake into the sand, and the teacher should guide students while using the spring scale or demonstrate for students how to use it. Guide the students in quantifying their data, again using words like a lot, some, a little, more, or less. Students should record their observations on their student page 19. Explain to students that right now, what they are doing is called a fair test. They are comparing two designs of an object in order to see which one works better, the straight one or the one that they had designed themselves. In a fair test, you keep as many things known as scientific variables of the same as possible. In this example, the material and the sand are being kept the same, while the actual shape of the stake is what has been changed. Once all groups are done testing, ask the groups to share their results. The students can make a simple claim with evidence by answering the following questions. Were you able to make a tent stake that was better at staying in the sand? How did you know if your stake was better than the straight stake? Would you change anything about your design? Have students discuss in their groups, then share out a few answers to the whole class. Give students more time to work in groups and hand out 5 more pipe cleaners to each group so that they can redesign their tent stakes. Ask students, why do you think there are different kinds of roots? What are the other functions of roots? Can you think of anything else that could be used by humans or for any other type of problem that could be solved by looking into roots for inspiration? Students may come up with ideas such as helping prevent erosion, helping anchor buildings, or helping absorb water. During the elaborate portion of this lesson, ask the students, what do you think will happen if we get the sand wet? Will it be easier or harder to pull the stakes out? Pick one group's stake. Add enough water to the sand bucket to make the sand moist and compact. Stir to incorporate the water, and then place the stake in the sand. Observe the results and discuss. Ask students to think about the other plant structures and functions they have learned about. Have students turn and talk to discuss other potential biomimicry ideas they can think of for the other plant structures. You could have students make their own designs and build them if you have access to recyclables or makerspace materials. In this way, the design challenge could be even more open-ended, with students using a variety of plant parts for biomimicry. Finally, use the Biomimicry Design Challenge rubric on student page 20 and the design drawing sheet from student page 18 to evaluate student performance in this activity. By the end of this lesson, students will have used plant biomimicry to design a model for a solution to a human problem. Students figured out that biomimicry means that we can use nature to get ideas for inventions that can solve our problems. Engineers use a specific set of steps to design and test their ideas. We can make inventions that act like plant parts. This unit will set the foundation for second grade explorations, where students will actually design their own experiments to test ideas about plant needs. In second grade, students will also make models of seed dispersal. In later grades, students will explore plant structure and function through the lens of adaptation, systems thinking, and ecological relationships. This is the final lesson in Unit 6, Seeds, Sprouts, and Sunshine.